Greetings, my friends. Thank you for joining me. Today we're going to be studying about the nature of sacrifice and how sacrifice affects us and how we're able to use sacrifice to come to a higher level of spiritual development. Sacrifice is, in today's language, I think, really a dirty word. People are very hesitant about this word sacrifice. I think in people's minds it means, oh, I have to give up this, I have to give up that, I become so strict, I become unpleasant to be around. I don't really want to do any sort of sacrifice unless it is of the utmost importance. But I would like us to think about sacrifice in a slightly different way. That not as something that is onerous exactly, not as something that lessens us, but sacrifice as a technique or as a way of giving over, of surrendering. Indeed, I would like us to think of sacrifice as liberation. That sacrifice has the ability to liberate us, to help us be more free. There's a wonderful story about the Chofetz Chaim that he lived a very, very simple life. And one day a reporter, a visitor from a big paper was coming to him and came to his little shtub. And inside there was nothing really. A bed, piles of books, a little rickety chair. And the reporter said to him, Holy Rabbi, because the Chofetz Chaim at this point was like the biggest rabbi in the entire Jewish world, where's all your stuff? And the Chofetz Chaim replied to him, where's all your stuff? The guy said, I'm just a visitor here. And the Chofetz Chaim said, me too. Be able to release things, to let them go, this is part really of liberation. And by extension, it is an aspect of what we mean by sacrifice, by giving over, by surrender. The Holy Nachman, I heard this story attributed to Rabbi Nachman, but I don't actually know if it was one of his stories, because I haven't really found it anywhere. I heard it in a giving over. I'm taught once there was a mouse, a very nice young mouse, very enthusiastic about life. But one day the young mouse noticed a roaring. And he looked around. What was that roaring? He had really never noticed it before, you know. So he went hunting for it, and he traveled, and he came to a great river. Incredible. And he said, this must be the sacred river that everyone talks about. And he investigated the river, and there he found a beautiful green frog living out in the middle of the river. And he said, oh, frog, aren't you afraid living out there in this great river, this water? He said, no, said the frog, I'm able to live both in the water and on the land. It's a special gift that I have. Incredible, said Mouse. Frog said, you should go back and tell the people about the great river. So he went back and he began explaining that he had seen the great river, but no one believed him. Finally, everyone said, you need to go talk to Old Mouse. He went to Old Mouse and he said what he had seen, the great river. Old Mouse said, yes, I have seen the great river too. Go back and tell me some of the things that you find at Great River. So I went back and talked to Mouse some more. I talked to Frog some more and investigated Great River, the sacred river. And then Frog said to him, Mouse, would you like to gain chokhmah? Would you like to gain wisdom? Mouse said, yes. Frog said, jump as high as you can. So he did. And there in the distance were beautiful great mountains. Frog said, those are sacred mountains. Even further along than Sacred River. Go back and teach the people about the sacred mountains. So he went back, and people were even more incredulous about the sacred mountains. They said, go and talk to Old Mouse. So we went to Old Mouse. Old Mouse said, yes, I have heard of Sacred River. I have even talked to people that have seen Sacred River. But there is no such thing as sacred mountains. I'm sorry, Mouse. You are deluding yourself. Young Mouse said, I must go and see the sacred mountains. Old Mouse said, no, you should not. There are many dangers, many obstacles. Young Mouse said, oh, but I'm yearning. I need to go. So he left, got to the Sacred River. Frog helped him get across, and he began traveling through the prairie. And he came upon a buffalo who was dying in the prairie. And Mouse said, oh, I'm so sorry to see you, large animal, buffalo, so sick. Yes, said Buffalo, I am dying. There's only one thing that can cure me, a mouse. But as everyone knows, there is no such thing as mouses. Mouse said, I am a mouse. I can cure you then? And Buffalo said, you are a mouse? Only the eye from a mouse can cure me. An eye? You want one of my eyes, my little eyes? And he ran in a circle, kind of in a frenzy. But then he said to Buffalo, all right, if it will cure you. And the moment he said that, his eye flew from his head, and Buffalo was cured. Buffalo said, oh, Mouse, thank you so much, thank you so much. Because you have helped me, I am going to carry you all the way to Sacred Mountain. So climb up on my back, let us go. And they galloped day and night, day and night. They came to the foot of the mountain. And he let him off. And then Mouse began to try to trudge up the mountain, but it was very hard. And he came upon, at that point, a wolf. And the wolf began talking in a very pleasant way, but then he became addled, not knowing who he was. Crazy wolf, running in a circle, biting his tail. Where am I? Who am I? What am I? Then he would talk rationally again for a few moments and then forget himself. And then he would come back to himself and say, oh, and he would weep. Oh, I know that I am someone. I know who I am, but I forget. Again and again I forget. Oh, if only I could remember consistently. Mouse said, oh, wolf, I know what can cure you. One of my eyes. So he steeled himself, and as he did so, one of his eyes flew from his head, and Wolf, bum, became completely himself, remembering, knowing. And he said, oh, Mouse. And tears were running down Wolf's face, but Mouse could not see them because he was blind now. He said, oh, Mouse, I have no words to thank you for what you have done for me, for giving to me, for sacrificing for me. I'm going to carry you all the way to the top of the holy mountain. So he picked him up, oh, so gentle in his jaws, not hurting him at all. And he trudged up the mountain, trudged up the mountain, trudged up the mountain, and got to the very top. And he said, Mouse, I have to go away for a little while, but I will come back and check on you. And Mouse said, I'm not afraid, it's okay. And he sat there and listened to the wind, felt the sun on his back. And then suddenly, Green Frog was next to him saying, hello, Mouse. He said, Frog, is that you? Yes, it is me. He said, oh, I am happy to be here in Sacred Mountain. Frog said, I know. Would you like to learn more Chokhmah? He said, yes. He said, okay, Mouse, I need you to jump so high, as high as you can jump. And he did. Boom! And he began to fly. And Frog said to him, Mouse, you have changed now. You are no longer going to be known as Mouse. Now you are known as Eagle. This is the power of sacrifice. And this is what our Parsha is about. The Parsha of Emor. And it says in our Parsha, in this part of the Torah, every day the high priest offers a meal offering, which is totally consumed upon the altar. And it has so many kinds of understandings to give that the meal offering, to give over a sacrifice that is consumed. But really, this nature of sacrifice is to let ourselves be liberated, let ourselves to be burned up, as it were, because when that happens, we are able to become an eagle.